Good morning and welcome, one and all, to the Sunday morning edition of Pacific414 Pop Talk. I am your host, Mike. This morning I have 6 articles I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to give a little bit more detail on Devotion, a movie I saw yesterday. And I'm going to go ahead and say it. I highly recommend Devotion. It's a great movie. And Jonathan Majors as Jesse Brown is great in the movie. And you had Glenn Powell as Tom Huddleston in the movie, and he was great in the movie. You know, for anyone who saw Top Gun Maverick, you would know Glenn Powell as Hangman. But I've got to say, Devotion is one great movie, one that I highly recommend. It is based on a true story. Now, how much of the actual story was put into the movie, I'm not sure, but I will talk about the movie a little further in this morning's broadcast. So, the stories I have lined up for all of us on this edition of Pop Talk are from About It in the Comics. Ousted CEO Bob Chapek reportedly cooked the books to high Disney Plus financial losses. And then I have another article, and this one is from Comic Book Resources, and it says Jujutsu Kaisen voice actor slams Crunchyroll for the English cast low pace. Sorry, excuse me. Didn't mean the cough. And from Geek Tyrant, Melissa Joan Hart says she's open to appear in a Sabrina the Teenage Witch reboot. And the next article will be from Superhero Hype, and it's about a tribute made for Jason David Frank, who unfortunately passed away last week. And then I have 2 related to Chris Hemsworth. One from Bounty in the Comics saying Chris Hemsworth says his return to the MCU depends on Thor being portrayed drastically different from Taika Waititi's bastardization. And the other Chris Hemsworth related story is Star Trek 4 and why he dropped out of the Star Trek 4 reboot. Now, before I begin, I will go ahead and put the link into the chat. And speaking of the chat, I will say hello to each and every one of you here in just a few seconds. And the first person I want to say good morning to is Leia Rose. Good morning, Leia Rose. I hope you're doing well this morning. And then we have Phil McCracken, the ultimate troll, who says, let's hope Atlantic 525 appears. Last week it was Atlantic 252. Now it's 525. Atlantic can't make up his mind what numbers he wants. And Leia Rose says hello to Phil McCracken. Phil McCracken says hello to Leia Rose. And Leia Rose says, have you seen Black Panther? No, I have not seen Wakanda Forever. And I've got to be perfectly honest, I have no interest in seeing Wakanda Forever. I think that Devotion is a better movie than Wakanda Forever just because, quite frankly, it's based on a real story. So, that has a little more impact to me. Maybe not to everyone else, but to me. And Leia Rose says yes. And Phil McCracken says Bob JPEG couldn't have. No, he couldn't have cooked the books alone. No, no, no. And speaking of Phil McCracken, let's go ahead and bring him in.
What's up?
What's up? How you doing this morning, Phil?
I'm awake.
All right.
I can't tell if I'm good or not because it looks nasty out, miserable. But I'm awake. So that's a plus.
Well, it's a rainy day here where I'm at, so it's that time of year. Here comes the wet weather, the snowy weather, and so let's go ahead and begin with one of our first articles here. And I'll go ahead and put it in the chat first. This way you all can follow along And let me go ahead and share my screen. And here we go. So, the first article we are rolling with this morning is from Bounding into Comics. It's by Spencer Bacali. It was posted on the 25th. And it says ousted Disney CEO Bob Chapek reportedly cooked the books to hide Disney Plus financial losses. All right. So the article starts off by saying, according to a new report, recently ousted Disney CEO Bob Chapek is alleged to have engaged in a series of deceptive accounting practices in order to hide just how much money the company has truly lost in service of developing their own signature streaming service. As per a collective decision by the House of Mouse's board of directors following his poor showing during the company's disastrous Q4 earnings call, Chapek was removed as the Disney CEO on November 20th, having served in the position for only 2 years. In his place, much to everyone's surprise, the board chose to reinstate former CEO Bob Iger. Goes on to say the board has concluded that as Disney embarks on an increasingly complex period of industry transformation, Bob Iger is uniquely situated to lead the company through this pivotal period, explained the board's chairman, Susan Arnold. In a statement provided to the media, we thank Bob Chapek for his service to Disney over his long career, including navigating the company through unprecedented challenges of the pandemic. Though word on the exact reasons for the board's loss of confidence in Chapek have not been publicly detailed, many have speculated that it was related to his abysmal handling of the Florida Parental Rights in Education Act debacle. Goes on to say, between turning Disney into a full on political entity, constantly flip flopping on which side of the debate he truly supported, and basing his moves on the ever evolving whims of Twitter's trending topic tab, JPEG's ineffective and indecisive leadership during this period has since drawn widespread criticism and mockery from across the political spectrum. Well, that's one thing that they should have never done is make everything political. That's just my opinion, but hey. But it seems that Chapek's wild ride in Florida was not the sole reason for his removal, as the former CEO is also said to have been actively deceiving its investors. During the company's Investor Day 2020 presentation, Chapek assured those in attendance that the company's expected Disney Plus to achieve profitability in fiscal 2024. However, per insiders who supposedly spoke to the Wall Street Journal, this is a near impossible goal to achieve due to the fact that the company has in reality lost more than 8.5 billion since Disney Plus launched and has posted bigger operating losses in each of the post 4 quarters. Further, in order to keep the warning signals from blaring, Chapek allegedly took to airing some Disney Plus originals such as The Mysterious Benedict Society and Doogie Kamehameha, MD, on the company's other networks. Doing shady stuff. In doing so, Chapek could then list a given series budget on the respective networks' accounting sheets, thus making Disney Plus look more profitable than it truly was. This pitfall is said to have been the result of Chapek's unfettered spending on content and other subject on which the former Disney executive supposedly deceived investors on. While speaking at the aforementioned Investor Day 2020, JPEG assured attendees that in light of the subscriber growth fueled by, in part, by an increased level of output for Disney Plus, the company expected our content expense to be between $8 and $9 billion in 2024. Yet the Wall Street Journal's insiders claim that under Mr. Chapek, Disney has increased its content spending dramatically to around 30 billion this year alone. Whew, that's a large chunk of change. As of writing, neither Disney nor Chapek have offered public comment on the Wall Street Journal's allegations. Well, all I can say is he did it to himself. He did it to the company, and I'm not making excuses, but we see the results. He is no longer the CEO. Bob Iger is. But in my opinion, I don't think that the company is going to change course anytime soon, even under Iger.
Don't forget, first couple years, for sure, when he was in there, Iger was his groomer, if we want to call him that.
Yep.
So how much does Iger know what Chapek was doing? Like I said, Chapek didn't do this by himself.
No, he didn't just do this by himself. And this is just me speculating. But how much of this was, Iger grooming Chapek and telling Chapek, this is what you do?
Yeah. Well, I'll say this, and this is my opinion. People can look up and research on their own. In 2018, Disney was having problems, even though they didn't officially say they were having money problems. And let's just say, I can't say the Disney company in name, but Disney company using a front, let's say, went and start purchasing certain IPs on the internet that of adult nature. I won't if you want to look up, I'll show it to you afterwards. But yeah. They spent, let's say, about a good couple billion in buying these IPs because they needed the fast cash because they were strapped. And let's be honest, they launched the Disney Plus a little too late. They were behind the eight ball compared to the other IPs. And I'm sorry, I still don't see how they're making money on that. I doubt it. If they're breaking even, they're doing great. But
well, as this article says, Disney Plus is losing money.
Yep. I mean, like I said, it was behind the eight ball from the very beginning. They were making more money when they were Netflix and other places sending their stuff and getting the fees from that. When they tried to put it under an umbrella, if you look at what we got on Disney Plus, there's maybe one, maybe two actual shows that you can say, okay, they made money. The rest, not really. I don't see WandaVision. I don't think that made money. I don't think the one I forget the guy that took over for Captain America, him and the Winter Soldier.
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I don't think that made money, and I definitely don't think that Phantom dude at the last one they had on there,
Moon Knight.
I don't think that made money, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Now, if you want to say Mandalorian, if you want to even say Endor, but Endor didn't have they lost a third of the viewers as bad as Obi-Wan. So I don't see the money made there. So,
also remember when The Mandalorian came out, they didn't even have any real merchandise readily available for the series. They didn't have any Grogu's out in the store that people could buy. People had to make their own shirts.
Yep. That's the thing. For Disney, and how much of a change. If this was Lucas, he would have, right now, we would have Endor for Christmas. There'll be stuff out there for Endor. I guarantee if you go into Walmart or any of the stores, even what little they have, I guarantee you they don't.
I was just in a Walmart last week. I didn't see any Andor merchandise because there's none to be had because there's none being made.
And that was the real value in Star Wars. Wasn't the movies or what later become TV shows. It was the merch. The merch.
Merchandising, merchandising.
Merchandising. He was right. I mean, think about it. Between 2005 and 2012, and yeah, you had the Clone Wars series. Look at all the merch we got just in that short period of time. I
Hmm.
think we got more merch then than any period since Star Wars came out.
I mean,
Uh, so,
I can remember not too long ago, Phil, going into whether it be a Walmart or Toys R Us or Target, you would go down the aisles and the aisles would be full of Star Wars merchandise. Now it's just limited to one section.
yep. I mean, I remember Toys R Us, even when there was no movies, they had at least an aisle and part of the front of the store full of nothing of Star Wars. Walmart had two aisles that were nothing but Star Wars.
Hmm.
You go into Walmart today, I think it has a quarter, if that, a quarter of an aisle. So, yeah, there's
Yeah,
money getting flushed somewhere.
you know what merchandise seem to have more merchandise on the shelves and on the pay hooks? Transformers and GI Joe.
Ironic, isn't it?
Hmm.
Ironic, you know. Uh, the biggest surprise to me is like you're getting air or something on your side of the microphone. We lose you?
I'm still here.
Oh, there was something like a fan or something sound like or static. But
No,
I'm all right.
I accidentally bumped my microphone.
Shame on you. But you know what? I'm surprised. Where is the Star Wars games besides the one with what do they call it? Jedi Fallen Order.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
you don't see any console games. You see a lot of mobile games like
Mhm.
Galaxy of Heroes. That's still going.
I'm just
But
surprised of the decrease and how far of a decrease we got with Star Wars, especially in the last 4 years. You know, and Disney can't say they weren't depending on that merch money because that was a gold mine. You
mhm.
couldn't mess it up. If even if you tried, you couldn't mess it up.
Yep.
So
And here's another thing too. When I went and saw Devotion yesterday, there was a trailer for Avatar: The Way of Water, and I'm watching the trailer, and it didn't pique my interest. It didn't make me go, "I want to see this movie." It made me go, "Oh, here's another movie I'm going to fall asleep to," because I fell asleep to the first one.
I watched the first Avatar. I liked the graphics. I loved the thing. But to me, you could have took them out and you can insert Kevin Costner's Dancing with Wolves, and it was the same storyline.
Hmm.
Oh, I mean, why? If Kevin Costner wanted to do a lawsuit against Cameron, he could have had a perfect one right there. I mean, it was almost identical.
What you mentioned, Dances with Wolves. Parts of the trailer for The Way of Water reminded me of Waterworld.
Oh
It's like,
Lord,
no.
I know they say some people say you shouldn't go by the trailers, but then again, lately, I would say in the last 5 years, trailers have been proven right. You can almost tell if the movie's going to be good with the trailers.
Hmm. I'll admit, going into Devotion, I wasn't sure, how good it was going to be or how bad it was going to be, but I went in there, and one thing I liked was the build-up. They didn't just throw everything at you; they just built it up at a nice pace, and you get to the crucial points in the movie, and you also get to learn about the characters, or in this case, they were based off real life men.
I will watch it for the sole reason of there's not many Korean War movies.
Mhm.
Not American. Not American. And since it's a Korean War movie, I'm all for it. Uh, so Yeah, I would go see it. For myself, I'll probably wait for it to come on whatever streaming service it comes on, you know. But I will watch it. I will watch it. It will that alone will hold the interest. Now, everything else in the story, I don't know much about it, so I can't say. But just for it being a Korean War movie, because let's be honest, unfortunately, the Korean War gets sandwiched in between World War II and
And Vietnam.
Vietnam, and it tends to be forgotten.
Hmm.
So, and unfortunately, now I think this movie should have been done a couple years before because people say yes, we have and done lost a vast majority of our World War II veterans, but on the same token, we lost just as much, if not more, with the Korean veterans. Was they're
Well,
not major age difference.
also, I was going to say, a lot of those Korean War veterans were also World War II
Yep,
veterans.
vast majority of them were or had been seen service in World War II. So
Yeah,
yeah,
because that is something they do mention in devotion between the two characters. In this case, like I said, based on real life men, you know, they do mention, I served, you know, during World War II, and they, mention, of course, Pearl Harbor because Tom Huddleston, before he actually comes over to the naval base on Rhode Island, was actually stationed in Pearl Harbor. They mention a few things about World War II, and of course, you know, at this point, I might as well just go into my full thoughts on the movie. There is a scene where they're in France, and they're welcomed, of course, with open arms because it's only 5 years after the end of World War II. And yes, they do touch on the fact that Ensign Jesse Pinkman was, excuse me, a black man, but they don't focus on it too heavily because they do, in their way, remind you that this is taking place during the 1950s. It was segregation, and the fact that Jesse Brown was a naval aviator serving with white men, it was a brand new thing back in 1950. So, you do have that. You also learn that Jesse Brown had a family. He had a wife named Daisy and a daughter named Pam. And it's just a very good movie. It's well paced. It never felt like it was dragging at any point. And I do see that there is a bot in the chat, so I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this bot real quick. But
you
you
know
do
you
get,
moved up in the world when you get a bot like that on your stream.
yeah, I swear, Phil. Sometimes it seems like you just mentioned a few words, and then all of a sudden they're there. It's like, okay, but it's just a very good movie. Glenn Powell as Tom Huddleston, Lieutenant Tom Huddleston, is very good, and he's very supportive of Jesse Brown, and you know the way the whole flight crew comes together is pretty good because there is a scene where one of the members of the flight crew is testing out that F4 Corsair on a landing approach because its gyro was just repaired, and unfortunately he puts in too much throttle as he's getting ready to land on the aircraft carrier, and that's one of the things that Tom Huddleston, Glenn Powell's character, says you can't do. He says on the F4 Corsair, you can't give it too much throttle. You do that, then what happened to Moonshire will happen to you. And of course, Jesse does take offense to it because he's all, the man just died, and you're criticizing the way he was piloting the plane. And Tom Huddleston, everybody on his flight crew is considered the best at what he does. And he's not just there to give them support and be part of the flight crew, but also help train the guys in operating the F4 Corsair.
Well, remember, even more so today. it's difficult to be an airman on an aircraft carrier
Mm-hmm.
because really, when you're taking off, not so much, but landing, you're actually crashing. An
Yeah,
airplane, the fighter airplane is literally crashing onto
yeah,
the deck.
and that's one of the things that they even mentioned. A lot of the guys even say, how much you want to bet he's going to crash? And of course, you have the emergency crews standing by at the ready because they're expecting to crash on deck.
Now they're doing it with Coles airplanes, which are a little bit slower than what our planes is today. Can you imagine what skill that it takes to take a jet fighter that goes some of them what Mach 1, even Mach 2,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to land it? And remember, the difference between an aircraft like a Corsair landing and a jet, a Corsair can almost idle its way down to the flight deck and land.
Yeah,
A jet can't. You cannot shut it off. If you shut it off, it will stall and you'll fall like a rock.
not only that, one of the complaints that they make in the movie is that the Corsair's nose is too big. It
Yeah.
disrupts your field of vision. Where they are in relation to the aircraft landing on the aircraft carrier.
If
But
I remember correctly, the original design for fighter airplanes at the beginning during the time of World War II, the Corsair was not the aircraft for the aircraft carriers. It was an
mm,
aircraft called the Buffalo, and I'm not sure what number they call it, but they all have a number. Uh, it was a lot smaller, a lot heavier, and wouldn't stand a chance in World War II against a Japanese Zero.
no.
But a Corsair had a chance in certain angles that it could take on a Japanese Zero.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they did the switch. But if you notice, like they said, the nose was not designed for an aircraft carrier
Mm-mm.
at all. So,
And real quick before we continue, I'm going to welcome in our next guest.
Anonymous. Anonymous. Anonymous.
do.
That's me.
Yes. Anonymous.
How you weirdos doing?
All during Thanksgiving, you know what I was thinking about? Anonymous. What is he doing today? Yeah. Yeah.
That's disturbing, Phil.
You know, I just had an image of you just sitting there eating leftover turkey.
I did that.
That's been injected by 1,000 injectors.
So just one injector about 1,000 times.
And I'm wondering there and saying, man, he definitely gained about 5 to 10 pounds over the last couple days.
Probably. Cheesecakes, pumpkin pies, stuffing, turkey, all the good stuff. So yeah. It's good. Mike,
Anonymous, how you doing this morning, brother?
I'm fine, my man. I don't know if you know this. I'm sure Phil told you, but you sound like crap.
All right, let me
You're
remove myself. You guys take over and let me see if I can fix something.
okay. We'll be here.
We'll take over.
We'll take over. Okay, everybody. This is Sunday morning Pop Talk. I don't have any articles to read because Mike has them all and he's gone. But hey, Alyssa Milano, how about that?
That
She's
crazy
nuts.
girl.
Crazy bit.
I would say, as an Italian, she's the second woman that I disown from my race.
I don't blame you. She's about as dumb as a box of rocks and proud of it too, because she does not mind showing how stupid she is on the Twitter.
No. I always say this, and I mean this in a good way. Some people, they should stop being on Twitter. Donald Trump, he don't need to be there because some of the things he just, just
Yeah.
leave it alone. Leave it alone. And
All right, I'm back. How do I sound?
Better. Yeah, it's good, man. It's good.
But Alyssa Romano, yeah, crazy lady.
Yeah,
Crazy
yeah.
lady.
I saw that tweet. I'm thinking, Alyssa. This is where one needs to pay attention to history.
She's so history. She failed that, I'm sure, in her little trailer where she was taught it on the set of whatever she was on, and they just paid them to give her an A. She has no clue about life, about how things work, and how the way things should be. She's just dumb, and is what we like to call invincible ignorance. They are so stupid, and they are so proud of being stupid that they like to show it for the whole world, and they can't be told otherwise. They can't be informed thusly. It's not within them to learn what is right and what is wrong. It's beyond them. So
You
good,
know, you
good
know
luck to
how
her in
to
life.
handle people like that, especially in entertainment. Forget about them. If you the worst thing you can do is you go to a store and you see them, and yes, some of them do not want you to bother them because be honest, they do get harassed sometimes when they're out in public. But some of them get really offended if you don't acknowledge or even recognize who they are.
Yes,
They
I
get
got
really
offended
hurt.
the last time I was in the grocery store. You didn't acknowledge me, Phil. Come on, acknowledge me.
He
I
was
don't
right
know,
there,
man.
Phil. He
I
was
don't
right
know.
there.
When I see you over them bananas, well, what do they call them? The big group, the bigger ones, the plantanas or whatever they call them.
Plantains.
Yeah, I don't even know what they use them for.
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
I've never asked.
Yeah,
They
I
fry.
never
I know they
bothered. I
fry
just
them.
figured I'm happy with a small banana. If I want a banana, I get the little tiny one. I'm happy.
You heard it. You heard it here first, people. Phil's happy with the small bananas.
I'm happy with
Yeah,
a small
yeah.
banana.
That's something that someone's gonna clip in the future.
Here we go. Here we go. We're going there, aren't we?
Hey, you said it. You said it, not us.
Phil likes the
All
small
crazy.
bananas.
Do you see what and they say it's me, and they say
Yeah, it is you. You're the one that said it, Phil.
I just like small bananas.
Oh,
There you go again. Ah, you heard it here first. Mark the date. Mark the date. Sunday, November 27th, 2022. You heard what Phil says. You heard what he likes.
The mind's in the gutter. I wasn't using an innuendo. I was just saying about the fruit.
Right. Even Leah Rose is saying, what?
She's on my side. Leia's always on my side.
Are you sure about that?
I'm positive.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right.
Just remember what she typed up further up when you scroll up. Thank God Phil's here.
And his small
At
banana.
11:10.
I see it. I see it, Phil. I see it. I can see it here. Happy now? Happy I highlighted it. Are you happy now?
Yep. See what she says always. See? My side.
Maybe she likes small bananas too. I don't know.
I was not expecting Pop Talk to go this route.
Things happen, Mike. Just go with it.
No shit. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our next story of this morning. And our next story involves Chris Hemsworth. And he's laid out his terms as far as what he expects to return to Thor. Chris Hemsworth says his return to the MCU depends on Thor being portrayed drastically different from Taika Waititi's bastardization. Okay. In further confirmation that the actor, like most everyone, is fed up with the director's blatant disrespect For the character, Chris Hemsworth has declared that his return to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Thor is contingent on being able to play a drastically different version of the character compared to his portrayal under the irony laden direction of Taika Waititi. Hemsworth spoke to his potential future as the Mjolnir wielding Norse god during a November 23rd appearance on entertainment reporter Josh Horowitz' Happy, Sad, Confused podcast. Goes on to say, asked by Horowitz, where do you go with Thor at this point? Hemsworth asserted that while he was unsure if he would even get another chance to pick up the hammer now that his Marvel Studios contract has closed out with Thor Love and Thunder, should he ever get the chance to reprise the role, he would love to see his thus far career defining character written in a way more akin to the tortured hero he was in the last two Avengers movies, rather than as the bronze over brains comic relief he was in his last two solo outings. I can't blame him there. I think you look at Thor and Thor the Dark World, and they were quite similar, the actor opined to his host. Ragnarok, Love and Thunder is similar. I think it's about reinventing him. And it goes on to say, I think I've had such a unique opportunity with Infinity War and Endgame to do very drastic things with the character. I enjoy that, you know, he he added doing his best to sidestep calling out Waititi's indifference to good storytelling by name. Well, I think you could say that about all entertainment when it comes to good storytelling. All right, it goes on to say, I like keeping people on their toes, he continued. It keeps me invested. I've said this before, but when it becomes too familiar, I think there's a risk in getting lazy because then you go, I know what I'm doing. Ultimately, Hemsworth admitted, so I don't know. I mean, I don't even know if I'm invited back, but if I was, I think it would have to be a drastically different version in tone and everything just for my own sanity. As noted above, this is not the first time Hemsworth has expressed public dissatisfaction with Waititi's handling of the God of Thunder. Speaking with Vanity Fair in the wake of the discovery that, as revealed in the fifth episode of his Disney Plus series, Limitless, he is genetically predisposed to Alzheimer's disease. Hemsworth was asked by outlet writer Anthony Resincan if these experiences focused on longevity change the way you plan your own future, to which the actor confirmed 100%. It goes on to say, I'm just at a point of my life where I'm meeting with different directors and people say, oh, yeah, look, he's a mad genius. He's mad, but he's a genius and he'll make great films. And I'm like, is that who I want to spend my days with? Said the actor, taking an ostensible gig at Watiti. 4 months, 5 months of shooting, and then you've got press and possible reshoots and so on. To this end, he informed the outlet, now if something's going to pull me away from my family and my kids, it's got to be a positive, constructive, collaborative experience. I shot with George Miller on the new prequel to Fury Road, and goes on to say, part of the Mad Max saga, he recalled. And I said to my agent, that's where I want to spend my work hours, with someone who is kind and collaborative and interesting. So My first question to everybody watching right now, and of course to Anonymous and Phil, is anyone surprised that he didn't have a good experience filming Lord Love and Thunder and Thor Ragnarok with Taika Waititi? I'm not.
No. I mean,
No.
um, I'm sure if Love and or no, if Ragnarok was a one-off, he would have been all right with it. But I think he saw the direction it was going, and especially when he got got to direct Love and Thunder, I guarantee you he had the worst freaking time. This is Thor's character. He loved playing Thor. He would play Thor until he's dead if they let him. And and he's not dumb. I mean, oh, he's a big jock, you know, and stuff. But I don't think he's dumb. I don't think he's stupid enough to think, oh, la di da, this is all great. Ooh, you know, this is taken in a different direction, and it's brilliant. No. He understands what Thor's about, and he knows which version of Thor is best, and he has to sit there and be deconstructed through the whole process, and he probably reads stuff. He probably sees YouTube reviews and all this, and you know that stuff can get to you if you're looking at it and you start to think, hey, this is what they're doing to me. This is what they're doing to the character, and I'm not cool with that. And he, he's tied. His hands are tied. He can't say anything that controversial about the people that are doing these movies, because he's not going to get hired back, or even if they do change, they're gonna, it's going to stain him a little bit. So he's doing the best he can. He's hitting around. He's like, I prefer this. Talking about you, he'd like to. I guarantee he'd like to come out to say Taika Waititi's a retard, and they should never give him another freaking movie to do. But
my opinion is the first two Thor movies were great. Loved it. Third was a little bit different. Too much comedy. The fourth one, that was looked like he Mr. Waititi went a little bit crazy on. To me, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of comedy in a superhero movie, but I think that was dialed way too up. And I hate to say this, the virtual things in that Love and Thunder, it's didn't have to be made, to be honest. And I think that was one of the first we can officially say MCU movies that can we say did it flop?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm safe to say so it definitely didn't make money. So yeah. And bottom line, let's be honest, it's about money. But as far as the actor goes, I wouldn't, if I was him, I wouldn't touch another MCU movie with a 10-foot pole unless he has creative control over his character. That's the only way I would ever come back to the MCU. Give him a little authority. He doesn't have movie authority or script authority, just authority over, yes, we can do this with my character. No, I don't think we can do this with my character. That's the only way I can see him coming back. But I hear what you're saying, Anonymous, about a lot of people, YouTube and everything. There's also a thing with the fandom now, regardless of what it is, when there's a success, they don't want it to end. The MCU Marvel should have took a small break. And what I mean a small break, I'm not saying don't make anything, but they should have scaled back for at least a couple years to get people to digest what they already done. You know, instead, how many Marvel movies did we get this last year? Forget the TV shows, Marvel movies. Too much, in my opinion. And I'll say this: I think they're risking a burnout if they're already not already realizing there is a burnout. Too much of a good thing, you know.
Though they're realizing there's a burnout. It's not just a burnout; it is a burnout too. But their messaging and their lack of quality, lack of good story, all this is hitting them pretty hard. They can't make a blockbuster movie anymore.
And I will separate Spider-Man because Disney is not in full control of that.
Right, the Sony movie. Sony knows. Man, I ain't saying no. Sony knows what to do with their properties, but
they'll protect.
They can, they'll protect Spider-Man, but they can have misses also with writing and direction that they want to go with it. Like Morbius, not that good. It's okay.
No. Well, that's a risky. See, just because you get a Marvel character from a comic book. I mean, there's a lot of characters out there that you probably do not want to make a movie about. I didn't think Morbius was a character. Maybe you could have done it as a Disney Plus, but as far as a movie, no. I mean, I love Gambit, but I never want to see a Gambit movie. I don't see him capable, not any actor, I'm saying character, able to carry a whole movie. Maybe a TV show, maybe. Okay. But, there's very few out there. There's a couple out there. You don't need to make a Marvel movie out of every Marvel character.
No, I mean, some characters are meant to be part of an ensemble. Gambit. I will concede to Gambit probably doesn't need to have his own movie, basically because he was a mystery. There was not a lot known about him, and the character was meant to be that way. And so he was an X-Men, and he played better with the ensemble cast or with an ensemble group. And being on his own, I don't know if he's going to be that interesting to the fans to be able to carry that solo movie. I really don't. But some characters can be, and they ignore those, obviously. Like Morbius should have been directly tied into Spider-Man. Should have been a Spider-Man Morbius crossover, because that's how he was created to begin with. But they didn't. They decided, throw him off on his own and leave Spider-Man out of it, and then bring him in later on. It's just it wasn't a good direction for it, and like I said, Sony's not perfect at all. They did a good job with the last Spider-Man movie, but some of the other ones are not so good.
Well, I will say, get back to Devotion. That was also done by Sony, and they did a good job on Devotion too. So it just goes to show there are, movie companies out there that if they're serious about it, they can give us good movies to watch. And I do want to say good morning to Claude Saley. And of course, I also want to say greetings and salutations to Old Man. I also want to say good morning to Pops. How you doing this morning?
I think
guys.
Hemsworth also needs to get away from the Disney umbrella. Go to make a movie somewhere else. I don't care if it's Universal, Sony, go somewhere else and make a movie. Just to make a movie. Get away from that umbrella.
Who?
Chris Hemsworth, the guy who played Thor.
Yeah.
And they have a tendency now, and it seems to go back to like it was in the 40s. They want to keep everybody, all the actors, under one umbrella, contract-wise. And that could be a good thing. That could be a good thing. But, I think maybe he should have took some advice from Robert Downey Jr. Even though all his movies after the Marvel universe kind of flopped, but at least he's out there doing different things. I give him credit. I mean, I didn't like his version of Doctor Doolittle, but
No.
at least he did something different. Sometimes an actor has to do something different, you know.
Mhm.
Hemsworth gets around though. He's Extraction on Netflix. I think he's doing part 2 of that pretty soon. So now's a very popular Netflix movie. So he can get around, and I think he does a little bit. So yeah, he needs to focus on some other stuff before heading back to the old Magic Kingdom.
Definitely. And we're not done talking about Chris Hemsworth just yet. I've got another story related to Chris Hemsworth. And it's also related to the Star Trek 4 reboot that we're not getting. Thank goodness.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need another Star Trek movie set in the Kelvin timeline or the JJ verse. So this article comes from comicbook.com, and then as you can see there by the headline, it says Star Trek 4, Chris Hemsworth explains why he dropped out. And he has very good reason as to why he dropped out. It says the next film in the Star Trek franchise, Star Trek 4, actually there's a Star Trek 4, it's a very good Star Trek 4 movie. It's called The Voyage Home. Has been something of a long journey. The film, which would be the 14th in the overall franchise and 4th in the reboot series, has been in development in one iteration or another since 2015. And while it seemed like we might be getting close to the film becoming reality when it was set for December 2023 release date, Paramount removed the film from its release schedule earlier this year. But well before this point, there were scrap scripts and other ideas for Star Trek 4, including one that would have seen Chris Hemsworth return as George Kirk. Hemsworth ultimately dropped out of the project, and now he's opening up about why that version of things didn't work out. In an appearance on the Happy Soul Confused podcast, Hemsworth explained that there were a few reasons why things didn't work out. It wasn't what I sort of where I was thinking it would have been or could have been, Hemsworth said. I thought there would be, okay, cool, let's figure that out and keep going. And then I think everybody got busy and so on. The scrap script written by the Reigns of Power showrunners. Well, there's there's your big problem right there.
Yeah.
J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay would have seen Captain James T. Kirk, Chris Pine, no, William Shatner, come face to face with his father, played by Hemsworth, through time travel. However, Hemsworth said that he's not sure it would work out so well now, 15 years after he first played George. Goes on to say, it would be weird now to flash back to your father and why is he so much older than the first time when he died, Hemsworth said. And then it goes on to say where the plans for Star Trek 4 currently stand. It's not happening. As of right now, Star Trek 4 is on hold for the foreseeable future. Paramount removed the film from its release calendar back in September, and prior to that, the film had lost its director. WandaVision director Matt Shakman was originally tapped to helm the project, but he later left to direct Fantastic Four for Marvel Studios. Matt Shakman is an incredibly talented filmmaker and regrets the timing didn't align for him to direct our upcoming Star Trek film, Paramount Pictures said in a statement after Shakman's departure. We are grateful for his many contributions, are excited about the creative vision of this next chapter, and look forward to bringing it to audiences all around the world. Well, it's not happening. There will not be of Star Trek 4 as far as the JJ verse is concerned. I'm speaking for myself here. I'm done with the JJ verse. I've had enough of it. It's not real Star Trek.
No, it's fake Star Trek. I hate it. I don't like it. I don't want any more of it. It doesn't make sense. And God, for the love of God, stop doing time travel stuff. You guys suck at it. You suck. Just give that up.
I will say for myself where I find great disappointment in the so-called JJ universe, his outright hatred of William Shatner. If you're going to bring Leonard Nimoy, they should have, at least in the second one, brought back William Shatner in some form or fashion. I don't know what happened there between Paramount and William Shatner, but it seems after the movie Generations, they want nothing to do with the man. And if you don't want nothing to do with William Shatner, then
they tried to bring him back for Enterprise, but they couldn't agree on a contract.
Nope. Peanuts. That's what I think he said on an iPad episode. Peanuts. Granted, you shouldn't say people should only come back for money, but let's be honest. You're not going to get any actor or well-known actor without a decent pay, or something, even for an appearance. But J.J. Abrams, no. I watched the first movie. Second one, when they turned into The Wrath of Khan in reverse, I was very pissed off in the movie theater.
You're pretty much doing this, Phil.
I shall leave you as you left me, as you left her, marooned for all eternity in the center of a dead planet. Buried alive. Buried alive.
Except you were Khan.
Yes. Look, even in the TV show when them two were on there, they clicked. When they did this movie, when they did The Wrath of Khan, it clicked. You're never look. J.J. Abrams is never going to get Ricardo Montalban style actor, and I'm not putting anything against Mr. Pine, but he's good, but he is not Captain Kirk. Captain Kirk, it will always be William Shatner, and they can call it old-fashioned gatekeeping. Dude, we haven't had anybody replace John Wayne. We haven't had anybody even come close to the next Clint Eastwood. It's just a fact. Once them people are gone, they're gone. But, yeah, I think it's too late, and Star Trek is
in the gutter.
Yeah, JJ Trek was a cheap facsimile.
Yeah,
it's
where there you can box them together with Doctor Who, and for my opinion, Star Wars is now darn near no return like the other two, Doctor Who and Star Trek. It's a shame to say, but I'll be honest. After Obi-Wan, I moved on. I don't care how Endor can be Oscar, Emmy Award winning. I'm done. Nothing. I don't even want to look, think, or talk Star Wars. That's where I went. And as a William Shatner fan for Captain Kirk, you can do Leonard Nimoy twice, but you could not do a cameo. And I would have been in favor, Mike, cameos of the old Enterprise, not just Captain Kirk. Generations left a sour taste in my mouth. That's not the way I want to see Captain Kirk go out. That wasn't the way I wanted to see Captain Kirk going out was kind of like in the beginning of Generations. That's the style Captain Kirk going out. The one thing he did get right is George Kirk's death. That's the way Captain Kirk, that's how Kirk dies. You go in there.
He dies on his ship.
There you go. Trying to save people. That's the way Kirk goes. Sorry.
And a tad that shouldn't be mentions very factfully that it is Paramount's fault. When the, Paramount and Viacom became separate entities, you had the movie division and the TV division, and the television rights going to CBS, and the movie rights staying with Paramount. Well, they screwed themselves because without the rights being one entity, you don't have access to, say, the original Enterprise. Even though there is a deleted scene in Into Darkness where it's I forget the Admiral Marcus. I was about to say I forget his name, and then it came to me. But Admiral Marcus, there's a scene where the camera's coming in from above, and you see the original Constitution glass hanging from the ceiling, but they cut that out because of rights issues, and they weren't able to keep it into the original film. But still, they screwed their own pooch.
Isn't that funny? An IP that is an IP being split, but then IP can't use something as simple as a style of a spaceship. That's kind of crazy, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's nuts. It doesn't make any sense.
No, but that's why supposedly the Enterprise that you see in Discovery is 25% different because of the rights issues.
That's retarded. Well,
Yeah, I know it is, but hey,
this is Hollywood. They're in La La Land. They're messed up in the heads. I mean, is that why we didn't, Discovery's Klingons look the way they do? I don't know. Rights issues.
The clean orcs.
Yeah, the orcs. If they don't care, they don't care about the property. They don't care about Star Trek. They probably hate Star Trek. They just looking at it as a moneymaker. And when you don't care about something, you're not going to make it right. And the fans are what elevated that show and that property to the heights that it is. And when you're making it and you don't give a crap about it, you're not going to do it justice, and you're just going to tick off the fans, and you're not going to make money. They don't understand this formula. And something somewhere down the line, they lost it. They lost the idea of how to make money with this stuff. And I don't know if they're ever going to get it back. It's a hard lesson they're going to have to learn, but we're all suffering for it.
We're all suffering for it because we know that Hollywood can make good television. They can make good movies. I mean, look at Ghostbusters Afterlife last year and Maverick this year. It shows that when you get a group of directors and producers and staff together and actors together that care about a property, they can put something out that people will watch. But then
veterans, they're all the people who made those are veterans.
Mm-hmm.
They've made good movies before. They know how it's done. They know what good storytelling is. But most of the crap that we're getting now is made by children, uninspired, uneducated, I don't even know what you call it. Just amateurs, and it shows. It shows hard. That's where they screwed the pooch, I believe. They got people like JD Payne and Patrick McKay. They haven't done squat. They don't know how to do this stuff. They think they know. They come out of college or whatever school they went to, and bought their A's, and they have nothing under their belt. They have no life experience, and they think they can write something better than Tolkien, and they have the hubris to convince Jeff Bezos that they can do it, and look what happens. They can't do it.
They believed in because when it comes to JJ, they believe because Spielberg says this is the man to trust, that necessarily he is the man to trust. Look, my issues with the JJ universe doesn't even have anything to do with Star Trek. If I ever come face to face with J.J. Abrams, I will punch him in the face for one reason and one reason only. Stop ripping off Star Blazers. Every time I see the Enterprise popping out of the water, popping out of a dust cloud, that's a total ripoff of Star Blazers. He
Yeah,
knows
but
it.
Hollywood has a history of ripping itself
Yeah,
off.
but he knows when he ventured in there. Look, you don't see in Star Trek a battle station with a trench into it and seeing shuttles trying to blow it up. At least they're smart. You do something different. The Enterprise, Kirk's Enterprise, it's a starship, yes, but it was not something that you ever seen Captain Kirk do before or since. It didn't go into the water. It didn't submerge. I don't even think a Starfleet ship is capable of submerging in water.
Probably the only ship that could do it if they had to retrofit it to do so, if the mission parameters called for it, would be an Intrepid class.
That
Because remember, Voyager did land on the surface of a planet.
Yes, but to me, when I see that, the way he focuses on that image of the starship coming out of the water, coming out of the dust cloud, especially when he's doing it in Saturn, that's identical to Star Blazers. And I know he probably maybe meant that as a montage for it, or a throwback. But after the first time, enough's enough. Just my opinion. I want to see something original. You know, look at the creators when they did the remake. Even though I'm not a fan of the remake or the reboot or the rehash of Battlestar Galactica, they do the same thing. The ship goes down to the planet right before it hits near the surface. It teleports out of there. Okay, I can deal with that. That's cool. The design and how they did it and they came up with it made sense to me. The ones with J.J. Abrams, he did so many twists and turns in that universe of Star Trek that I still don't get. The Klingons from not the Klingons, the Romulans from the first ship that they disabled and then they disappeared for 20 years. Well, they really technically didn't disappear. They were captured by the Klingons and imprisoned for 20 years. It didn't make sense in that. First, you tell us they disappeared, and then they tell us, and this is in the same movie, they disappeared, but then you find out they didn't disappear. They were prisoners. Okay. And you mean to tell me the Klingons weren't able to take a advanced Romulan ship?
See, that's my problem with that deleted scene. It's like, okay, you have, and I'm just assuming here. I know what they say about assuming. It makes you an asshole, but
Sort of. Go for
They
it.
But
opened it when they do time travel. You open the door.
but you have Nero's ship going against these 7 battle cruisers of the 23rd century. You have a late 24th century ship going against 23rd century ships. Even in Voyager, we saw that a D7 of the 23rd century had no match for a 24th century vessel because the technology has been upgraded.
Mm-hmm. But then again, Voyager still had issues because, yes, it was an advanced ship, but if it got outnumbered, no matter how advanced it was,
It would get an ass whooping.
yeah. And the same thing, I think, with Nero's ship. But the Klingons had it for 20 years. You mean they didn't try to retrofix and try to re-engineer for themselves?
Yeah, reverse engineer all the technology and adapt it to their ships and cloaking devices. After all, they could have reverse engineered the cloaking device that was on Nero's ship.
Yep. And that all that isn't thought of when they do, oh, we're going to do time travel. I mean, think about it. If we use our timeline and our world, let's say it was futuristic Earth that did the crash over there in Roswell. What's the first thing our military is going to do, regardless of where it comes from? Try to reverse engineer every technology they got their hands on at that crash site. It's just a fact. But no, they're not intelligent enough to think about stuff when you. This is why you do not open the door to time travel. Just my opinion. There's too many doors, windows, and traps you get into when you do it. So,
I mean, I'm just going to bring up Trials and Tribulations as a time travel movie, not movie, but episode of DS9 that worked. Because there was a problem and they had a solution. And they still made it work within Trouble with Tribbles.
I like that episode.
Yeah.
But it was done right. And I think when they brought that episode up to be made, I think they made sure we tie all loose ends. We don't leave anything open. For me, the JJ universe didn't tie up loose ends. They just left more questions than answers. So, and when you're in sci-fi, let's be honest, we like answers.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
we don't want mystery box after mystery box after mystery box.
and that's the only thing I think JJ Abrams is capable of doing. Mystery box.
And don't forget copying other people's work.
Yeah.
He's the worst. He's like a kid in freaking high school who looks over at your stinking paper during the test. It's pretty sad, and I can't believe I think it's because of Spielberg, but he's made a career. He's gotten filthy stinking rich off of copying other people's stuff. And I don't get it. But Hollywood is Hollywood. They just see money, dollar signs, and they don't care.
And one of my biggest gripes with a lot of movies nowadays, especially the ones produced by Disney when it comes to Star Wars, is they have to release a book in order to explain plot holes from the movie. It's like, no.
If you got to release a freaking book to explain your movie, you're doing it wrong.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know how many of you might have watched Sabrina the Teenage Witch when it was on in the 90s, but apparently Melissa Joan Hart is open to a return.
I need money, lots and lots of money.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the state of television that it doesn't surprise me they try to bring back old shows because there's no new ideas, and especially on television. What do we got new that you can say even comes near MASH? I'm not a big fan of it, but I would even say Friends, Seinfeld. What about Raymond? There's nothing really out there in TV that I could say worth watching. It's sad.
It's. I love TV shows. I have a shelf, full of series that I love, and I have a media box full of even more hard ERR, But I grew up on the TV show. And movies are great. I love movies. Movies are, top notch. But it's the everyday thing that you watch. It's it's appointment television. You come home, you sit down, you eat your dinner, and you watch Friends or The Office. And I don't give a crap. Who cares? I still love Big Bang Theory. Whatever. I know.
Oh my God. How could you like Big Bang Theory? Oh my gosh.
Because it's funny.
You heathen.
I know. Y'all can cancel me now. I don't care. But that being said, remakes you can't go home again. Friends is what it is. yeah, everybody was clamoring for a reunion, which is fine. Reunions is fine. One off or a few episodes is fine. But once it's over, especially like Friends, they went out on top. Everybody was still watching Friends. Everybody still loved Friends. But who cares about a continuation of freaking Sabrina the Teenage Witch? I mean, I watched some episodes. It wasn't that good. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't that good either. Why in the world would somebody want to continue?
Well,
She's after money, obviously. She wants something else to do. She's done with Joey and Melissa and or whatever show that was, but she's got nothing else to do. Nobody's hiring her for movies or other shows and stuff. So sure.
that's why I picked this article too, is to find out from the audience here that comes to the channel. Do you even care if you see another Sabrina the Teenage Witch related project with Melissa Joan Hart, or have you moved on? Because I think a lot of people, after a period of time, move on.
I guess maybe because I'm old school, but I like an ending. A story has to end. And I think most of these TV shows had their ending. Let's move on. Let's create something new. We don't need to reboot. Not everything needs to have a prequel and a sequel. You know? And that's getting blown out of proportion now, just as much as being overwhelmed with superheroes. You know, at some point, you're going to get tired of it. You know, I mean, look, Supernatural, we got 15 years. Do we really need a prequel series to it? Do we need a sequel series to it? No, it's fine. Leave it alone. Let it go. The MASH was a great series, and I know they tried to do 2 shows afterwards. It didn't have the feel. It wasn't MASH. Leave it end, you know, leave it go. I don't see, and I'm, just because it might be 40 or 50 years from now, I don't want to see a new version of Happy Days. I don't want to see a new version of Father Knows Best. It's good to leave things alone. You know, and I'm sitting here today looking. They have one. What about Wednesday from the Addams Family? I'm sitting here. Why? It doesn't make sense to me. So, and this show doesn't make sense.
The Addams Family, I can see there's different takes on it, different characters focusing on us. I mean, it's not a continuation. It's not a reboot. It's just a different take on the Addams Family. Is like a you know, I don't know, it's like a Lego set. You know, you can rearrange it in different ways and still come up with something that's pretty decent.
Didn't they try to bring it back just a couple years ago? And it just
there's a Netflix series, and
Yeah.
the tad that shouldn't be also mentioned it, and it was more on the horror side, but even that was canceled.
Yep.
And this will be canceled because it's woke. It's already got the moniker of being woke. It's intersectional feminist horse crap. So it's not going to last, and it had potential. I mean, it looks good to me, you know, in the commercials and stuff, and I was going to watch it, but probably not now. I don't. I have a aversion to intersectional feminism and diversity and.
And here's the thing: besides the Big Bang Theory, the way the TV networks have been with shows, it's maybe 4 or 5 years, and even if it's a hit, they tend to want to cut it off. I think of Castle. They did 5 years. They could have went a year or 2 more. They didn't want to, not because there wasn't more storyline there that they could do, but precisely the reason was we can make more money because we can put it in reruns. 5 years is good enough.
Syndication.
Mike and Molly could have went longer. They were on top when out of the blue, nobody even on the show, none of the actors. Oh, we're canceling. We're done. And I know some series, when they get that notice, they try to move it on. What's his name? Tim Allen, his show that he had for a couple years on one network.
Yeah.
He had to take it to another network.
Last
But
Man
even
Standing.
what would he only get 2 more seasons? But
2 or 3.
yeah.
I didn't really watch Last Man Standing, so can't really tell you.
Last Man Standing was a really good show, but before it left or after it left, they started changing out characters and stuff. It just wasn't. It was still pretty good. Yeah, it got 2 seasons, but I think it was like trying to end it right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So characters left, got different actors for characters, and it started to get turned into a hodgepodge of what it was, and it wasn't as good.
15, 20 years ago, if I told you we were going to have a restart up of Roseanne, people would look at me as crazy. They would be all for it like they were. And then lo and behold, there was trouble there. They had to change it to The Connors.
Because of what Roseanne Barr said in a tweet.
Yep. And again, some people, first of all, some people should not tweet. And I will say this, sometimes when you put things in a tweet, it doesn't come out the way you might intended or meant. I mean, I'm not trying to condone what she said, but if I was to say to you guys in a private chat and I send you a message, F you would first say, is he joking? Is he serious? How you take that meaning of that's 2 simple words, you can come up with 5 different ways. Not trying to say anything about what she said. Totally, understand. People have said worse, but now the show, I'm not sure if it's been canceled and now they're talking about bringing it back or it's still going and they want to bring Roseanne back as a special guest. I tell you this, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole.
She's dead. They killed her.
It's TV. You're never quite dead.
It's they're not bringing her back. I guarantee you that. But yeah, it's I can't remember if it's still going on. It's irrelevant. I mean, once they got rid of her, it was not the same. It's probably one of those shows that just keeps going just because they're probably losing money on it. Probably the viewership's probably not that good, but they don't mind dropping money into something, especially if it's got a message in it. They don't mind losing money on it for the most part. Yeah, good shows they might cancel just because, but not the crappy ones.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard recently that I don't know where Gab is, but they've been.
He was here last night.
Talking about bringing back Stargate SG-1.
No.
At this point, I hope they don't.
No,
too late.
I love Gap. I appreciate him and everything, but man, he's got to stop advocating for that. They will not. They will screw it. This is Amazon we're talking about. They will F that up faster than anything, and I don't want that. Stargate is one of my favorite shows.
Yep.
And they will destroy that show faster than anything. And I just get so frustrated when I see people, not just him, but other people. There's like a big thing on Twitter, bring back the gate, blah, 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 or whatever. Is it? You guys don't know what you're asking for.
No.
You really don't. I don't know what in the past few years makes you think Amazon's going to bring back Stargate and make it good.
No, they bring it back. It's going to be Stargate Reigns of Power.
There you go.
Yep.
Let's be honest. Most of them actors on that show, they're doing fine. So they really isn't like they need the job. The guy who plays Tilk is making a buku of money just playing the voice actor of the God of War over there. So, yeah. Richard G. Anderson doesn't need the money. I don't think any of them actors on there are needing the money. So, yeah. Leave it alone. Don't touch it. That's my philosophy. It's over. Like I said, I like endings. You got to have an ending. I know people like to keep it going, but you know what? How many times do we need the Clone Wars? And I know they use another term now. What is it? Tales of the Jedi. Can we put it to rest now? We even got a season 7 to make sure there was an ending. End it. It's okay to end it. Star Wars is a big universe.
Yeah, yet they're not ending it because you have the Bad Batch. That's a continuation of the Clone Wars.
It's like it's never going back to the well, and eventually the well is going to go dry. You know, give me something new. Give me Darth Raven. Give me some new character. I don't care where, 5,000 years before any Star Wars was out. Give me some new characters. Something new in a new time, set in the Star Wars universe. But like I said, in the past, give me Darth Bane. Give me something. Anything but rehashing stuff, man. It's just getting old. And
It's done got old, rotten now.
And I'm going to go ahead and read this article as quickly as possible. And the article says actress Melissa Joan Hart has had several hit TV shows in her career, starting with Clarissa Explains It All in the early 90s, then Sabrina the Teenage Witch, which ran from 1996 to 2003. She then went on to co star in Melissa and Joey and has gone on to star in many Lifetime Christmas movies. Yeah, if you ever watch a Lifetime movie, they last a lifetime.
Man-hating channel. Fact.
A reboot of Clarissa Explains It All was in the works a few years ago, but has since fizzled out. Now Hart says she'd be happy to come back as Sabrina Spellman, the formerly teenage witch. In a recent interview with the Associated Press via Coming Soon, Hart was asked about the potential of a new Sabrina Teenage Witch series, and she responded, "The answer to the Sabrina reboot question is, unfortunately, I can't just point my finger and make it happen. There's so much red tape. Who owns it? Who would pay for it? What network would it be on? It wouldn't be on a network, it'd be on a streaming service. We all know that." Hart was then asked if she would be interested in making the series if it was a possibility, and she said, "I would totally be interested if it was the right way to do it. I feel like so many of these reboots were done wrong, so many were rushed, so many were not well thought out. And the thing is, sometimes it's just that the fans, they think they want it, but the fan fiction is so much better." And that's pretty much it. Then you just have a few lines by the author of the article. And honestly, do we need it? No. In my opinion, no, we don't.
No.
Are
there enough teeny boppers from the 90s that would support this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I hate to say this, the younger generation, I mean, kids from like age maybe 10 to 17, they don't watch TV the way we used to watch stuff. They're, they if it's good, they'll binge watch it when everything's done, or 9 times out of 10 just don't have an interest. So they're for modern times, the options are binge watching or not watching at all.
Yeah, the streaming services have ruined what was. The binge model has destroyed how things were done. The kids nowadays, they don't sit down. There's no appointment television for most of them. They can watch it anywhere on their phones. Oh, I can't do that, but they could go anywhere and watch this stuff on their streaming services on their phone, anytime, anywhere, and it's chaotic. They can't I can't be bothered to sit in one place and be there every week anymore. We all do it, and if there was an appointment TV show that comes out, us older folks, I'm gonna say we will sit down and we'll be there and watch it.
Yep. I mean, that's how we did it back in the day. It was. I'm pretty sure your household was the same as mine.
Yep.
Happy Days come on TV. Mom, dad, brothers, sisters, whatever, sitting there watching it. You're watching the same show they're watching exactly at the same time together.
Yep.
You know,
And all your friends somewhere else is watching it. And
the same thing. But
yeah,
that
your
was what we
coworkers.
talked about in school.
Yeah.
You know, this day and age, it's like I'm going in my room now. Granted, back in our time, you had color TV in the main room. You were lucky if you had a black and white TV in your bedroom, you know. But that's how things were. But you still, if there was, like I said, Happy Days was on or Disney Sunday Night Movie, you know, you sat down as a family and watched it, you know. This day and age, no, man, I'm going to my friend's house, and as they're walking down the road, they're on their phone watching the show until they get into their friend's house. And then it's up in the bedroom or down in the basement or in the garage or whatever. And then they're not even watching on the same television. They're all watching on their phone. So,
yeah, we've lost some sort of connectivity with each other, and it's sad. I know entertainment's not supposed to be the end all be all. You know, it's about human connection. It's about family and friends and talking, conversing, sharing ideas, all that stuff. And there was a lot of that when it came to the television show or the movie or whatever was on TV, the boob tube, you know, rot your brain. Fine. I get all that. But we did it together. We ate dinner together. We watched TV together. We talked about it together. There's some that has been lost, I believe, to a very large extent, and it's really hurting our society. It's hurting creativity. It's hurting culture. Obviously, I mean, we are in a culture war, and we wouldn't be in it if it wasn't for all this. I mean, this is just a part of it, but there's more to it. But
I mean, think of it this way: power goes out, internet goes out. People don't know what they're doing. They're like a chicken that lost its head.
Except the three of us.
Yeah,
And
you know what
those
we
who
would
are in the
do?
chat right now, we
Yeah,
would
you
grab
know
a
what-
book.
You know what we would do?
we're playing a
I'll just
freaking
throw
board
this-
game.
Well, I'll throw this out. Even if we didn't have a lot of stuff, let's just say you were guaranteed to have Matchbox and Hot Wheels. So we grab our Matchbox and Hot Wheels. If anybody don't know, they're little cars. We go out to our friends, and they're coming outside because there's no power, no electricity. And guess what? We played outside. We made things. We use our imagination. If we had Transformers, you went outside and you called your friend, hey, or you went over to his house. Guess what? We're playing Transformers. If there was a board game, we had board games, people. That's how we entertained ourselves. We bust out the board games. So we really didn't need a power outage. Didn't bother us. Didn't affect us. Today, that affects you. You know, I'm sorry. In my household, everything runs off a box. My internet, my telephone, and my cable. And if that goes out, I have no telephone, I have no cable, and I have no internet. You know, I'm pretty much screwed.
Yep.
Back in the day, power can go out. You were hardwired into a telephone. Your telephone's as long as the wire is still connected, you were still good.
Yeah, he called your friend to talk for an hour.
There you go. There you go. You know,
Or you know how many Monopoly games we played by candlelight?
Monopoly, Sorry, Trouble,
Yep.
We used to have a game. I don't know
Hungry
if you guys
Hippos.
played it. It was called Dungeons, kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, but they didn't use the name. It was called Dungeons. There was Survivor, where there was a island, and you had to get your people off onto boats before the island broke apart and sunk. There was a whole variety of different board games that we had.
Mousetrap comes to mind. Shoots
Mousetrap,
and Ladders.
Hungry
Candyland.
Hippos.
Mm-hmm.
Simon said,
Life.
I wasn't quick with the memorizing the lights. Yeah, I wasn't good with that, but I played it.
Oh, we couldn't afford electronic games.
Or we had that thing where you used to take your car and you put it on this little thing and you wind it up and you would hit the button to let it go, and the two cars from two different directions would crash into each other and parts of it would fly up in the air. I can't remember the name of it, but they were awesome. They were awesome.
Heck, or you just take a sheet of paper and make a paper airplane. Throw that around for a little while.
Have contests.
Mm-hmm.
Who's throwing farther?
Puzzles and models were another thing. I don't even think kids ever do puzzles anymore. I remember.
I can't tell you the last time I saw a model kit anywhere.
I remember the last one I did was a 1,500 piece, the Dukes of Hazzard. The General Lee's is a beautiful puzzle, and it's jumped in the air, and it's a picture of it, in the air. They're beautiful, because we all used to love the Dukes of Hazzard,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't trade that 70, 80 time period for anything of the last 20 years of now. No. There was so much to do. Even if you didn't have friends or you didn't want to be around friends, you had something to do. And I know today kids have the computer and everything, but we used our minds. Bust out the army men. If we wanted to play jacks by yourself, you can play jacks. There was so much to do that, like I said, it didn't matter if the power was on, the power was off. Parents tell you to go to bed, you're under the blanket, you're busting out the flashlight.
Mm-hmm.
And how many times can you say somebody actually, did you see in the younger generation, read a book? And I'm not talking using their Kindle and going that way.
No, you're talking about a paperback and a hard copy.
Yep. Like I said, there was always, your parents would tell you, find something to do. There was always something to do. Nowadays, my internet's gone. My power's gone.
Yeah.
And
who were the people who were writing TV shows and movies that we grew up on and that we, through the 80s, 90s, and even 2000s? Who were those people? They were people like us.
Yep.
Who had to grow up like that, invent their own games, invent their own things to do, go out on adventures because they didn't have nothing at the house to do. We used our imaginations more than anybody else in the freaking world, in time, I guess, in the history. And that shone through in all of the entertainment that we have. Those people who wrote those shows and created those shows, those guys were Imagineers. They were pioneers of creativity, and we lost it. It's gone. The kids nowadays that are doing all this, they have no imagination. They have no creativity.
My parents made me, at least they would suggest to me, just read something. Take one day, one night, take an hour or two, read a book. That's how I read The Lord of the Rings and a lot of the stuff from Tolkien. That's how I read Ivanhoe. That's how I read Tom Sawyer. Can't read Tom Sawyer today because they don't like the content of Tom Sawyer. But that's a classic. That is a classic. But yeah, how many times your parents will have a newspaper, or especially your dads or grandfathers or uncles, and they hand you the comic section.
Both my parents would do that.
Yeah, I used to love when they used to hand me the comic section. Oh, look, comics. Even if it was in the newspaper.
Yeah, but I definitely remember my grandma always she always could never function without her morning paper.
Mm-hmm.
With my parents, they had to have their morning coffee along with their morning paper.
Yeah, but for me, I'm a little late because I went out and. But
You just broke up there.
unfortunately, like most people, I actually drink tea instead. It's just a lot better. And
I'll
calms
be
the
honest,
nerves.
now that I got older and my eyes are getting a little bit more harder to read, I do listen to audiobooks, but I still think it has the same feel when you listen to an audiobook as you would.
Yes, and I mean that's the whole thing, though. Yeah, everybody. I mean, look, I already have I got a few Star Wars books and actual paperback copies. Heck, like I said, and I even said in the comments before I came in here, I also got ISOM, and it was a good book. I mean, it's all right because it's just the first issue of the book. It's the first issue. But I know ISOM number 2, I think that's when the story's really going to ramp up. It kind of introduces the story, introduces the world a little bit. And there you go. And that's what I'm going to gladly say. Because thankfully, I'm actually glad that power outage happened yesterday. So good on the lore to actually instigate that happening. So it gave me a little time to actually read such a pretty interesting story from a man who basically is sticking it to the mainstream comic book industry.
Yep. And moving to our next topic, who's eating?
Bill,
Not me.
no,
Not me.
Jet.
All right. For our next story, it comes from Superhero Hype. And as you can see there, it says Jason David Frank gets an official Power Rangers tribute. And let me just go ahead and share it in the chat. And then I'll start reading the article. And the article starts off by saying, earlier this week, word broke that Mighty Morphin Power Rangers star Jason David Frank reportedly committed suicide. This news hit fans of the franchise especially hard since Frank had been one of the most beloved cast members since the series debuted in 1993. More than that, Frank's Tommy Oliver remained a part of the Power Rangers universe for nearly 3 decades. Even after he left the show, Frank always came back in some form. To celebrate Frank's contributions to the show, Hasbro has released a tribute video to him via the official Power Rangers Twitter account. It combines footage from Frank's stint on the original series and his guest appearances over the years. And article goes on to say Frank's Tommy was introduced as the Green Ranger in the first season of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and that was where his enduring popularity began. From there, Tommy was given the powers of the White Ranger and the mantle of team leader in Power Rangers Zeo and Power Rangers Turbo. Tommy was the Red Ranger. In 2004, Frank returned to the series as a regular cast member of Power Rangers Dino Thunder as the Black Dino Ranger. For this incarnation of the show, Dr. Tommy Oliver served as a mentor to the younger Rangers. Frank also guest starred in Power Rangers Wild Force and Power Rangers Super Mega Force. Frank's final live action appearance as Tommy came in Power Rangers Super Ninja Steel. That episode was created to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Power Rangers in 2018, and Tommy briefly revisited all his former Ranger personas in that story. But for everyone who grew up watching the original Power Rangers, he'll always be the Green Ranger to us. And I got to silence my phone.
Unprofessional.
Yeah, Jason David Frank was truly a legend of this franchise. In fact, people considered him the face of the franchise in many ways.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go ahead and play the tribute. Just gonna keep it in its box that it's in. And of course, it's buffering. So let's just bring it back a little bit.
Well, you know, if you wouldn't run these streams on your Commodore 64, we probably wouldn't have this problem, Mike.
Very funny. Anonymous.
He's
Smart
probably
ass.
dealing with Comcast. Yeah.
No, worse. Spectrum.
Oh,
Much,
yeah.
Thank
much worse.
God I got Verizon buyers. I rarely.
I really wish that would be like near my town. I know there's another Verizon store near like my local Walmart, and I actually hope that they would actually have FiOS or something. If they have that, I could just switch over to that.
I would say like occasionally once a month, around 1-2 o'clock, you get that little so-called update, so nothing going on. An occasional hiccup, maybe every once a couple months, but I am always stable. Very rarely any problems.
No, not with Spectrum. Seems
I
like
would
every
say
day I have some kind of
here,
problem with them.
You either have BIOS or you have Comcast, and if you are on Comcast up here, you get laughed at. You get laughed at. So, but I'm not. I don't have Spectrum, but I heard stories, horror stories. Some people, for some reason, isn't unheard of. Sometimes for a whole weekend not having internet. No,
We've had that happen here, and unfortunately, it's either them or CenturyLink in my area.
Oh, God, no.
And the one thing I would say, even if you were down for 2 hours, you don't have to request it. You don't have to do anything. Let's say Verizon was down 2 hours.
Mhm.
They deduct them 2 hours off your bill. They don't make you pay for their downtime or their issue. And
Not
if that,
Spectrum.
That should be something that that should be done.
yes,
Heck, even for my sometimes my cell carrier, I'm using Cricket. Sometimes they will give me like maybe $5 to $10 off for my bill every month, but usually the usual fee is usually like $50 a month, and I just like it better when I don't have to pay when I have to pay a little less every month. But sometimes they just don't give you any credits for that. It's just really weird.
I think it's done buffing. We can actually watch it.
All right, let's hope it's done buffery. Nope, still buffery. Like I said, Spectrum Internet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop playing it. The link to the tribute is now in the chat for anybody who would like to watch it. Spectrum, fix your damn internet.
They got you. Why would they want to do that?
I was really sad to hear that he died, but more sad that lately we found out it was under the circumstances that apparently happened. All I will say on the matter, I don't care how strong you are. I don't care how mentally tough you are. There will always be something in life that can bring you down and potentially take you out. And sometimes you may not think, well, it's no big deal. I think in his circumstance, it was relationship issues.
Yeah.
You would think, oh, it's no big deal, regardless if he works it out or not. He's a star. He can find somebody else. It isn't that all the time. It could be that moment where you're trying to get alone time and you get in a dark area. And sometimes staying in that dark area can only bring you even further in dark areas and makes you think to do something that you normally would not do. So
I can relate.
all you can do is talk to somebody. I don't care if you're even lightly in a dark area. It's always good to talk to someone. You know, I just feel bad.
It's just unfortunate here. The guy was a positive role model, even almost 30 years after initially playing the role of Tommy, there were still people that looked at him for inspiration. He had his own dojo where he would give karate lessons, and
And even then,
it's a damn shame.
and even then, he's contributed a lot of projects. Like you see all the stuff where he's involved with, like Bat in the Sun. They were amazing. Like his fights between like Ryu and Scorpion were amazing.
It's just sad when someone takes their own life.
Yeah,
Like I said, normally and sometimes you're in that dark spot, and it might only last maybe for some people 20 minutes, maybe sometimes an hour, sometimes longer, but sometimes that 1 hour in that dark spot push you into a space that you and do things that you would normally do. And I think he got into an argument. He was alone. And it's tough. Relationships are tough. You got to work at it. And sometimes when they fail, let's just say sometimes you don't get the answers and you're sitting there when you're by yourself. It rolls and plays in your head. Why did my relationship end? Why did we try to work it out again? And it still looks like it's going to end.
It's better to just end it. And
sometimes, but like I said, I don't know the circumstance, but I'm saying
I don't know the circumstances either.
He had ability to pick up a phone and even anonymously make a phone call and say, "Hey, I'm in this dark area. I can't talk or do not want to talk about it publicly with people that I know." You can reach out on the phone. There's crisis lines. Sometimes you don't want to talk to even family about it, but you can talk to somebody. And I think if he, even for an hour, was able to talk to somebody, and I think it might have helped him. Might have not, but it could have helped. I'm just saying, everybody gets into a dark space. It's knowing when to get out of that dark space. I would tell people, if you're in it longer than 10 or 15 minutes, talk to somebody.
I'm no medical professional, but couldn't it also be one of those things where you get into that dark space and you don't know how to ask for help because you're scared?
Yes.
And sadly, he isn't the only one we lost due to that, but hopefully people that are or might get in that spot, hate to say, maybe it might be a lesson to learn. Hey, I'm in this dark spot. I better go talk to somebody. To me, the best person to ever talk to when you're in a dark spot, your mother. Mother never steers you wrong, and mother normally doesn't judge you too harshly. Most of the time. So,
I could say from my own experience, when my mother was alive, I would ask her for advice. Even as I got older, I wanted to hear, someone tell me the truth and not sugarcoat it. I would ask her.
Exactly. You want honest, raw like advice. No try to tell you, yeah, everything's gonna be all right. No, you don't. As an adult, you don't need that. You need to be told. People just need to be honest with you. That's all you need is honesty.
I don't know if I remember, he has children.
He does. He did leave behind children.
And I remember, now this was about 20 years ago. Sometimes your own family members can be a little bit harsh. A guy in Romania lost his job at Christmas time. His mother got upset because it could potentially ruin his daughter's Christmas. And he took the talking to as a bad thing and did something similar. And it didn't solve the problem. It only made it worse. Your daughter don't have mom or dad because her mom had died of cancer. You're leaving the grandmother alone to raise this child. Sometimes you're doing, even if you're thinking, well, maybe if I'm not in this world, it'll be better. But sometimes you're doing more harm by thinking or even doing that, you know, now that person's daughter is growing up with no parents, you know.
Mhm.
I know that Mr. Franks has his, I'm not sure what the status are, if they're divorced still or not, but now his kids don't have their dad. And
Yep.
that's a very sad thing. A very sad thing.
And even though they were going through their divorce, his wife no longer has a husband.
You know,
Divorce proceedings or not.
and I hope people don't, because they were
Don't-
trying to
eh,
make it work and then it turned into another argument. I hope people don't turn
Don't blame
on
don't
what,
blame her. Don't blame
yeah,
her. Don't blame her. Let's
we,
get
we
all the facts
yeah.
first.
You
Yes,
don't know what they
exactly.
were dealing with or could have been arguing about. It could be 1,000 different things.
Yes.
And
It could be a little thing too. You know how little
Yep.
things can set us all off.
yep,
Yes.
you know, so I don't turn on. I mean, the news tends to throw it out there and then leave it, and then people automatically think, well, this lady was a, you know, mean, and she wasn't. Give her credit, at least on her part. No matter what, she could have
She
just
was
said,
concerned, and she
yep,
did have them call
yep.
the cops. And
But she even was willing, even after they were separate. Here she was there trying to work it out, you know.
Mhm.
And even if it didn't work out, at least give her credit. She tried, you know.
Yep.
Give her credit. So, you know, it's sad all the way around. So,
It's sad for his family. It's sad for his former castmates. You know, the crew members who worked on the show with him and got to know him over the period of the show's first initial run, and then any appearance that he made after the show's first initial run, and the fans too. I mean, you think about the fans and how heartbroken they are. They're never going to see him at a convention again.
Yeah.
They're never going to be able to have him take a selfie with them or sign a piece of Power Rangers merchandise or memorabilia.
I have something I want to show you guys, but give me a minute.
Okay.
All right. I know. I feel I don't want to be preachy. I really don't. I don't like throwing my Christianity around and around this area. But for something like this, and I know a lot of people don't believe in all that. Pretty cool.
Yep. The Sword of Darkness.
But I'm just gonna leave this here. Okay. There's something Christians get, those who do believe and those who have what they call give their heart to God. They're saved, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yes.
called a peace that surpasses all understanding. When the world's fallen down, everything is in your life is turned to garbage. Knowing that at the end of your life, whether it be tomorrow or 30 years from now, or whatever's happening in your life right now, it doesn't matter. All the turmoil in your life doesn't matter. Knowing that at the end, you are going to be in a place that harm and bad things can't happen. It brings this peace you don't. I mean, if you don't know what it is, you've never felt it. It is amazing. Everything in my life could burn down right now. My house could burn down. I could even lose my child and my wife. And yes, it would hurt. I'm not saying you're not going to be free from hurt and darkness, but there's always that light. There's always that peace in your heart, especially when you know that they're going to the same place. Thoughts of suicide are not even on the table. I'm going to keep living my life for God and at the end, I'm going to hear, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. Enter ye into the kingdom of heaven." And that's all I could hope for in this world. None of that other stuff gets me down. Yes, it annoys, it angers a little bit, but there's no depression. There's no sense of hopelessness. That, and a lot of people have that in their life, and they don't. If they could just experience what it means, what it feels like to not have that burden on you anymore. You put that down at the feet of Jesus Christ, and all that other stuff just melts away. But I'm going to leave that there, and I won't preach anymore for the rest of the month.
Amen.
You're good.
Amen.
I'm not going to criticize.
I think when it comes to stuff like this and dark times, I like calling it dark times. You have to remember, life is not a Disney movie, a Hallmark movie, or a Lifetime show. Things happen. Anybody that tells you, "Oh, this thing shouldn't happen," or "this isn't," no, life does not work that way.
Yeah, but I always say this: look, no matter what crap you go through, hopefully it can be made smoother by friends and family who are still with you.
Yep.
Yeah,
Old man's right. Job's a prime example.
Overcoming the depth.
I'm just teasing.
And there are probably going to be some people that will say, well, what does faith have to do with it? For some people, if they lose everything, the only thing that they have left is their faith.
Yes.
My cat didn't like Anonymous' speech.
Well, it's not for cats.
It's not for cats.
Cats are evil.
That's the
going
problem.
to hell.
Cats probably think they are gods.
They do. They're evil, and they're all going to hell.
Cats are
But
evil.
here's the thing.
Are evil overlords who look at us and go, "Feed me, human."
Do as my bidding.
There's like a meme between dogs and cats. This human feeds me. I will now be loyal and protect him forever. This human feeds me. I must be his god now.
Yeah, cat will be fine eating you if you died in your in your apartment, and the dog will probably sit there and cry. The cat will just eat you.
If it's you or them, they are definitely picking them. Definitely.
Yeah, that's the whole problem. People who say they absolutely love cats, yeah, as long as you feed it and house it, yeah, the cat will stick around. But if it doesn't get any of that, it'll dip out the minute it doesn't need you.
Or pee on your router when you tick it off.
And hello to Nova Vaughn, the artist formerly known as Cobra Disney Jedi.
Huh. Better name.
Howdy. Cats could be trained. Boosh. You know what it takes to train a cat? I don't have the patience. I'd rather put like nails under my fingernail, or toothpicks under my fingernails.
Cats can be trained, but they're experts at training you for them, not for you to train them for you.
Yes. Let's get one of those and just put cats in the back.
What was that movie? Was it the History of the World? I think, where the chunked the cat out the window. Is like, I think I just invented the catapult.
or worse, like Robot Chicken. Like you see, like the cat knows that like all the mucus from a kid just comes out and causes a mess at night. And then it like goes in and just starts scratching the kid, and the dad just goes like, "I thought I told you to stay the hell out." Cat.
And Nova Vaughn says, "Cats in the cradle and the silver spoon."
Let a boy bleed in the man in the moon. Anybody watch Friday Night Tights this Friday?
I haven't watched Friday Night Tights regularly in a while.
I watched. I just had it in the background. They had Yeah, they had Count Dankula on.
Count Dankula. Yeah, that's my point. I can't read the word Twitter without hearing his voice now. Twitter. So go on Twitter.
On Twitter. On Twitter. On Twitter.
I can't not hear that now. Thanks, Count.
I haven't watched Friday Night Tights since the Gary Doomcock breakup. So.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing. I know one day. I think there's two people that are like, I don't like going into YouTube drama. I know there's that thing between Jesse Milestone and Nerdrotic's wife, and of course, world class bullshitters. Jeff, their boyfriend and girlfriend. Jesse Milestone and him are boyfriend and girlfriend.
That story. I don't think we should probably talk about it.
Nope. I'm putting the kibosh on that. I'm putting the kibosh on that. I don't want. Yeah, I know, honestly, here's my stance on it. When it comes to content creators having a beef with one another, that's their business. It's not any of my business.
I know it isn't, but I know just saying I just only hope that people just need to work their problems out and just are good and civil with each other. But if there's always bad blood, it's just crazy.
It's like a breakup.
Yeah,
like some friends go with the one side and some friends go with the other.
YouTube is no different than real life or anywhere else. You're going to have people to get along, and then people are going to get along temporarily, and they're great at it. I mean, look at what happened this weekend. Adam and Tim. You finally get the story according to each and both. They normally wouldn't talk about it. Now we got it. But
I don't know what's going on with that thing there. I don't know what's going on with that.
Simple. It's called money. It's no different than a band or anything. Why bands break up? They can't get along, and money.
I'm surprised. One band I'm actually glad that is still around. I mean, I'm not sure if any of you guys have ever played like Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, but they did like an original song for that game called Immortal, and they're still, and I can't believe they're actually still around and active to this day. That's crazy. Same thing with Journey; they're still active, I think, or they're coming back for a reunion tour.
Their Journey is out there, but I don't think it's after this weekend. It's going to be much longer. They're having their issues too. Again, money.
Oh,
yep. You have to remember, anytime I don't care if it's an individual and they're dealing with, like Elvis had to deal with the Colonel. You see the breakup there and how the money problems cause a lot of problems. Rock bands, when there's four or more, it's worse. But sometimes they have you think one band manager for the band. No, it's a band manager. Then each one of them have a manager. So it's even that more crazier. And everything comes down to money. Beatles didn't get back together after they broke up because money. It's always about money. Who got the rights to writing a song? Who come up the rights to this? I come up with the album cover. I should be getting a percentage of whatever the album cover is.
Everybody wants their piece of the pie.
Yep. I mean, I only can think of one band that says, okay, because they were only a 3-piece. They split everything 3 ways, no matter what. And that was Rush. And when the drummer, I forget his name, died
Neil Peart
long ago, that was it. They're done. That's it. Done. Hold up for the day. Done. But that was the only band I could say. It didn't matter who wrote the song, because a lot of times, let's say you're the drummer and you do not write the song, but you play the drum parts. You put the drum parts in. That's just as much a part of the song as the lyrics. So I like that they did it that way. Everybody gets a third, no matter what. End story. So.
All right. Speaking of stories, I have the final story here for this edition of Sunday Morning Pop Talk, and it's from Comic Book Resources. The article says Jujutsu Kaisen voice actor slams Crunchyroll for the English cast low pay. Kaylee McKee, the voice actor for Jujutsu Kaisen O, the sixth highest grossing anime film of all time, is seeing none of the windfall. The article goes on to say while Crunchyroll is celebrating the confirmation that Jujutsu Kaisen O is now the sixth highest grossing anime film worldwide, the voice actors from that film have yet to see that financial success trickle down to them. Kaylee McPhee, the English dub actor of Jujutsu Kaisen O's protagonist, Yuta. Yeah, I'm not even gonna say it. Yeah, Phil, go ahead, laugh. Quote retweeted Crunchyroll saying, "Always loving seeing that sweet residuals money for playing the main character in English hit my bank account." In her thread, McKee said this was her first time speaking publicly about the low pay the voice actors from the film received, consequently revealing that she had signed a contract for less than $1,000. McKee is the fourth voice actor from the hit anime film to speak out about their unfair pay, with Chris, I can't even say his name correctly. Well, it's mentioning other voice actors, but I mean, $1,000, that's no better or even worse than minimum wage. I mean, I realize these aren't named voice actors as far as, say I mention, Jim Cummings. Anyone who's in pop culture circles might know who Jim Cummings is, especially if you tell them what characters he's voiced.
Yes. Of course, one of his most notable one is, of course, Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah. The article also says anime voice actors can't make a living. Well, no, not on $1,000. No one can. You can't expect someone to live on $1,000. In September, it mentions two of the actors tweeted that $150 was paid to them, with the latter revealing that they received no residuals or anything past that. I mean, I'm not going to read this whole article, but man, either $1,000 or $150, nobody can live off that.
Well, we don't know what kind of contract they signed. They could have signed a contract.
If they're non-union actors, they're not going to be protected like union actors.
Well, that's the risk you run with not in that situation not being union. But let's just say they signed a contract. They said, "Here, we're going to give you $1,000. You voice act this." But they could have also signed a contract. We'll give you $1,000, and if the show makes money, we'll give you a certain percentage of it. Whatever gets syndication. About that little comment there, Nova, there were 4 other members of ZZ Top. So yes, they did have, if you want to call it breakups. They had 3 famous members that stayed together for a long period of time, but they had 4 former members, even if you don't count Dusty Hill dying. But I would say this is reason why when you're involved with Hollywood, it's best to stay with the union than to sign deals outside the union. But like I said, we don't know, because they could say, here's $1,000 and 2% of whatever we get from syndication for the English voice acting that you do.
Well, it also just makes me think that you have McKay here who's saying that she only was paid $1,000 for her role in the movie, yet for every voice actor who's been part of anime, there aren't very many Steve Blooms who have been able to branch out into unionized work.
No. I can think of the actors that did Star Blazers, the voice actors. I know for a fact, first 2 seasons of it, they didn't make no money. And then when it came for the third season, nearly half didn't return because there was no money into it. It was just enough to hold them off till the next one came over. Next job that comes in. Voice acting is the hardest acting that you can do. If think of it this way. It used to be a bad thing for an actor to do voice acting because it was considered a downgrade. Mark Hamill, that was at first when he did voice acting, they were saying, oh, he can't get the roles. I think him and, excuse me, I forgot the guy who played the Batman.
Kevin Conroy.
Yep. They turned that around to where voice acting, became not only popular, but people start respecting it. But look at take the reverse. Kevin Conroy's first live action appearance of Batman, I would never know. I don't even want anybody to even go see it. It was not good. And it wasn't just his fault. That was the script and you're stuck in there. So, but he was a great voice actor, and I can think of a lot of voice actors. The guy who used to host the top 10, I can't think, he did Shaggy. Casey Kasem.
Casey Kasem.
Thank you. You know who I meant. You're right off the way. Yes. He also made it popular, but a lot of people didn't even know at the time that he was doing voice acting on the side. I remember people were making fun of the guy who was in the original Center Square. He was a comedian. He played the voice of the rat on Charlotte's Web. I can't think of his name right now, but he was a good comedian, popular comedian, and people were making fun of him because he was voice acting in a cartoon. Kurt Russell got backlash for doing the Fox and the Hound because he was voice acting. You're a popular actor. What are you doing voice acting for? I love the Fox and the Hound, even today.
Leonard Nimoy voicing Galvatron in the Transformers movie.
But for some reason, like I said, from in the 70s and early 80s, an actor doing voice acting was frowned upon. Even doing radio, like the guy who played C-3PO and
Anthony Daniels,
and the guy who played Lando Calrissian. What's his name? Mr.
Billy D.
Williams. Billy D.
Billy D.
They were doing, both of them were doing the voice acting of radio version of Star Wars, all three movies, and they did a wonderful job. I wish there was recordings of it, but people were saying, "Oh, these guys can't get roles." Not necessarily, it's not. I see voice acting no different than regular acting. It's all acting. How
you just don't get to see your face.
Yep.
And Phil, there are plenty of actors who have been in front of the camera who, once they start doing voice acting, they stick with voice acting.
Yeah. I mean, I remember back in the day, people would make fun of actors doing, what do they call it? Doing stage. There's a lot of actors that do stage and do both. What's his name that played Count
Patrick
Dooku?
Stewart would do his one-man show of A Christmas Carol.
Yep. But there was a time, I think back then, because I don't want to use stay in your lane type of thing, but I think they had this thing where if you were, even back then, going from TV and then going to movie was seen as a step up. But going from movie back to TV was considered your careers on a downward spiral. And you look at it 20 years from the last 20 years, TV actors, movie actors, interchangeable. So,
and voiceovers, I remember there was some crossover when we were younger, but I remember when Tom Selleck started doing commercials. And it kind of was a big deal. He did, but I think he opened up the world for actual Hollywood stars because you started seeing more and more and more of that. You started seeing advertisements done by famous actors, and
I mean, look at Japan. You know, there have been famous actors who have done commercials for products in Japan. Now, you wouldn't have seen those actors do this a commercial here in the States, but they offered them money in Japan to do commercials over there, and they did them.
yeah, money's money.
I mean, I seen recently like Gene Simmons did a commercial for Tab. Well, we don't have Tab much here in the States no more, but it's still a thing in Australia, New Zealand, and Japan. And he done 3 commercials for Tab. You know, you wouldn't see him over here. You don't see him doing the commercials. You know,
No.
Tab. That's they still make that.
How about a
Yes,
tab? I
they
can't
make-
give you a tab unless you order something.
How about a Pepsi free? Buddy, you want a Pepsi, you're gonna pay for it.
Oh boy.
Back to the Future. Quotable movie.
Classics.
And speaking of movies, I know this Wednesday we're having our talk and discussion on The Big Lebowski, and we can even review it because that's also what I'm calling it too, discussion and review. But for anybody who follows me on Discord, I posed this question to everybody, and the question is: with Tombstone now being available on YouTube to watch for free, would anybody like to join a watch party / live commentary on the movie here on the channel? You know, we can all put it up on our own devices and watch it along at the same time and provide commentary to it.
That'd be interesting. That's something I want to consider doing on my channel at some point.
And the reason why I'm picking Tombstone isn't just because it's available for everybody to watch on YouTube right now. It's because it's one of my favorite movies.
Yes.
The interesting part about Tombstone was that the other movie company, other studio, decided to put Wyatt Earp at the same time.
Oh, you're talking about the Kevin
Kevin
Costner-led
Costner.
Yep.
movie.
That was at the same time. So when you went into the movie theater, you had both of them going at the same time, which was kind of, that's old Hollywood. That happened, 30s, 40s, sometimes in the 50s. But that was really kind of crazy that they decided to put both out there at the same time. Take it for what it is. I've seen both, but my favorite version is the Kurt Russell version. I
Tombstone.
liked it, but I would say historically going, the Kevin Costner, not that it was more historical, but more realistically historical than what we got from the Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell had a lot, and it happens, it's Hollywood. Look, any historical movie we get from Hollywood, if it's 60% historically accurate, you're lucky.
Mhm.
But going by the two, the better movie was the Kurt Russell one, but the one that was more historical was the Wyatt Earp.
Well, just like I said about Devotion earlier, I don't know how much of the story that was in the movie is actual fact and then how much is actual fiction. But I'm curious to find out.
Yeah. I mean, I would watch it no matter what. If it's historical, even if it's not 100% historical, I would watch it. But I was always the type of person when I seen a movie and it was supposed to be based on historical parameters, I like to compare it to actually what you can read and find out.
Mhm.
I mean, just to see what did they get right, what did they get wrong, what did they leave out. But
Yeah, there are always some things they're going to sugarcoat or exaggerate in these.
They all, I mean, every movie they sugarcoat it anytime it's historical. They're always going to sugarcoat it, point it in one direction, leave certain things out. I mean, even when you get a non-historical movie, I mean, you're never going to be able to put any movie 100% based on a book or history. You can't, because it'll be a 4 or 5 hour movie, and nobody wants to see a 4 or 5 hour movie. So,
And don't mind me, I'm just getting rid of the bots.
I'm not doing my job. Apparently not. Ooh, Sex 69 fun. I like that.
Yeah, bots. Bots are just the most annoying thing you have to deal with.
Thanks, YouTube. You guys are great.
oh, like I said, Mike's moving up in the world. So once you start getting bots, popularity is going to soar.
That's right.
And it's funny. It's funny. I've mentioned Devotion twice and how good of a movie it is, and that's when they're showing up. Well, guess what, YouTube and bots who are listening? It is a good movie. Give it a watch. I didn't feel like my time was being wasted. I felt like it was money well spent. And nowadays with movies, I'm not just going to go out there and freely spend my money on a movie.
Yeah, unless you actually have some bit of interest in it, which most movies don't. I mean, every single time now I see a Marvel film is like, oh, great, here we go again.
Yeah, how are they gonna F this one up? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, but like I said, I don't really care. I mean, Devotion looks like a good movie because I mean, it does tell more about a war that most people largely just forgot even happened in a way, the Korean War.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only places that kind of popularized that conflict was MASH, at least in terms of TV and film. It was MASH.
The thing to remember, I mean, we're big on wars and monuments and dedications and stuff. And even Vietnam, we do have monuments. Korean War, yes, there are a few out there, but not as much.
Yeah, we think of
probably the least amount of monuments to the Korean War, and I don't even think they even have less than the Spanish-American War. And it's sad. I mean, I'm not saying throw up a monument for the sake of throwing up a monument. There's always a reason and purpose throwing up a monument. But, in my high school that I went to, there were plaques. The names of the kids that left high school to go into World War II, the kids that went into Vietnam, their names are up there.
Yes.
The Korean War, they did put a plaque eventually, but that was after World War II, and believe it or not, after Vietnam. And the sad thing is, like we talked earlier, a lot of the Korean War veterans were double veterans. They were in World War II, just like there is some veterans of World War II that were veterans of World War I. But somehow, like I said, the Korean War tends to get forgotten.
Yes.
Like I said, you can go in your own capital city of your state, and you'll see monuments to this thing and this thing and this thing. I wouldn't be surprised in a lot of them they don't have any Korean War plaques or monuments to anybody. So,
and Old Man is right about this statement. It was a police action for, going into the Korean War. You didn't want China to invade Korea. You didn't want North Korea to take control of South Korea, and then, who knows where they would have gone next.
Yeah, and now I mean that's where again that was back when we were starting to see the start of the big Red Scare and whatnot, and trying to stop the spread of communism.
The Cold War.
Yep.
Because they even bring that up in the movie.
Yeah, because again, this is supposed to start a new Cold War. But now today, North and South Korea are two diametrically opposed nations. I mean, heck, even most South Koreans don't see North Koreans as their own people anymore. I mean, then again, the only reason why North Korea still exists is because China needs them as a buffer zone because they don't want American influence further in Asia, more than they already do with Japan and with them and Japan. But I know one thing: there are other countries I think Vietnam swinging back leaning more toward us. But I mean, if push comes to shove, they will just somewhat side of China, sort of nudges them the right way.
Well, they're still diehard communism. So regardless if they get along with the other communists, they are still communists. And like I said, I'm. It is what it is. If that's what their people want, more power to them.
No,
But
less power to him.
Less our problem, more theirs. But when it's different, like I say, with the Korean War and even the Vietnam War, we were. When you make deals with countries and you promise to protect them, we did it. China didn't like us going into North Korea. Well, I'm sorry, North Korea started it, and I would have said, if I was back then, yes, go into North Korea. I would also say, as soon as the first Chinese troops crossed the border and engaged our troops, then yes, that is war. That is war. Call it whatever you want. It's Chinese soldiers shooting American soldiers. You can call it whatever you want. That is war. And had that Korean War happened before World War II or right directly a lot quicker after World War II, I think we would have been a lot more harder on China than what we did. But I do give Eisenhower credit for defusing it. But unfortunately, defusing Korea end up inflaming Vietnam. We succeeded in defending one, but we didn't defend the other. So it's sad, but that's how it was.
It's sad, and it's also important to learn about these moments in history.
The sad thing is we didn't learn, because when you see what happened at the end of Vietnam, and then you look in just what was it, last year or the year before, the Afghanistan,
Things repeat themselves.
Repeat. To me, that was I'll never forget the fall of Saigon. And the reason I'm saying that, I had a lot of family members who I was there present that were watching that. And these are veterans of World War I, World War II, and yes, even Korea. And let's just say some of them people after fighting wars are a little more mellowed out. Some aren't, but they were. I have never seen a group of men more pissed off in my whole entire life.
Yeah, I heard about it from my parents and my grandparents.
Yep.
When it was to that point where I was learning about the Vietnam War and just how angry they were that we were pulling out.
Yep. I mean, like I said, the generation that came from World War I and World War II, they had this mentality. I don't care if you cut a person's hair. You do anything to an American, it is war. That's just plain out. That's how they thought, like I said, my view was, if you see Chinese soldiers killing American soldiers, it is what it is. It's war. You don't limit it. How can you limit it? When they first invaded, what can you say? And remember, the United States didn't start the war. They wouldn't have been there if they didn't invade South Korea. And the Russians and the Chinese knew it. And not to go really quick, but I'll try to make it sum up real quick. We knew there were Chinese pilots flying in their jet airplanes in Korea. We knew the Russians were also fighting in there. Officially, they weren't supposed to be there, but they were there. And if you ever talk to a Korean veteran, they will tell you that.
Even in devotion, there is, seeing there's a dogfight between the Corsairs and a MiG.
The Russian pilots were, like I said, they weren't supposed to be there, but if they were shot down, they were told to take the cyanide capsule so they can deny it.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. The Cold War was a very tough time, and most of us grew up with it. And growing up in the 70s, I could tell you, it was put in our heads, not that we could hold them back. It was a question of when we were going to lose.
Yep.
Battlestar Galactica was based on us losing the Cold War. Prime example. There were TV shows based on that. Even to the point in the movies, you got Red Dawn.
Yes. And
So-
also you have another film called The Day After and by Dawn's Early Lights.
There was and it was very publicized because people were pissed off to even mention it. There was a TV show called America with a K. It was about us losing the Cold War and the Russians taking over the United States. And yeah, people were just putting that on TV was enough to get people upset. You know, I mean, it's on YouTube for free. You can see it, and you're watching. You're like, wow. I mean, if I would have told you and take everybody here and go back in time in the 70s and you tell them, oh, there's a United Germany, they would laugh at you. You would tell them there's no Warsaw Pact, they would laugh at you.
Mhm.
And if you told them there was no Soviet Union, they would put you in a crazy house.
Uncle, you're out of your mind.
Yeah. I mean, the Warsaw Pact, I mean the Soviet, they might look at you and give you okay. All right, maybe the Warsaw Pact disappear, but not the Soviet Union.
Shout out to the great Ronald Reagan, by the way, for
Oh, yes.
single-handedly destroying the Cold War or winning the Cold War for us.
Yep.
See ya,
Ended
Jet.
in a nightmare. Ended in a nightmare.
Yep.
We grew up knowing that any time, and there's been some close calls, that we could have had a nuclear war. There was the most famous one was a Russian guy that was at one of the silos. The computer told him that the United States had launched missiles. Technically, once a certain code is given to him, he's supposed to launch his missile. It was a computer error. He did not follow the orders. Instead, he called the base, and come to find out, like I said, it was an error. Now, had he followed the error and followed the orders, he would have launched that missile. We would have had World War III in 1985. Just a simple mistake like that.
Yeah, it happens. One day, somebody's going to make that mistake.
Mm-hmm. And it definitely is a good lesson to teach.
It saddened me to see that certain group of people on the street 2 years ago with the hammer and the sickle. Only thing I could say, if that would have happened, if them group of people did that in 1985, their butts would have been kicked.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't have been no question about it. Anybody that thinks communism or even socialism is great, go to them countries before you think about it, or ask somebody that lived in them countries growing up. It's not great. The idea we share the wealth does not work. It never worked. If you know anything about the Soviet Union, when they got rid of the Tsar, yes, you got rid of royalty, but then the people that were on the bottom became the top. What was Stalin? He was pretty much a Tsar, all in name.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing really changes. You can get rid of your top people in charge. The next people are no different. Sometimes things don't change.
And on that note, I think we should go ahead and wrap up this edition of Pacific 414 Pop Talk. Now, before I let you push your channel, Anonymous, I do want to make an announcement about tomorrow's watch party of the Big Lebowski. It is still going on the Pacific 414 Discord at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then after that watch party, this Wednesday on Pop Talk, it'll be Pacific 414 Pop Talk movie discussion and review of the Big Lebowski. So if you're interested in being a part of that, please DM me either on Discord or on Twitter, and you can join us for the watch party and for the discussion of the Big Lebowski on Wednesday at 8 p.m. And of course, tomorrow's watch party at 8 p.m. Eastern as well. I know Baron has already expressed interest in the watch party. Cash has expressed interest in the watch party. Crit has also expressed interest, and also Pops is interested. So if anyone else is interested, just hit me up on Discord or Twitter, and I will send you the link to the Discord. So Anonymous, anything going on your channel?
I am working on my script for the review of the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special.
Okay.
So I'm about 3 paragraphs into that. So keep an eye out for that. I thought I would. Oh boy, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good. I don't know. I got some things to say about it. So just wait for the video, and
Okay.
I'll try to be posting that up within the next week.
He
or
didn't
so.
like Kevin Bacon.
It's the whole. I don't know. There's more to it than that.
I got you.
But yeah, just keep an eye out for that. I'll I finally found a subject I want to that's relevant that still. So and maybe I'll try to think of something more Christmassy. I got some Christmas stuff on my channel, some videos. I did a reading of the Night Before Christmas video. Anybody want to check that out? That's cool. It's Christmas time.
La, 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 la,
La, la, la. And
Yes. Now everybody can put up their Christmas decorations. Of course,
we
you
got
don't need my permission to
Yeah.
put them up because some people have already put them up. Some people have already celebrated Christmas. Looking at you, Master Pole. He knows I'm joking. He knows I'm joking.
Speaking of which, again, I don't have a channel, but speaking of Master Paul was nice enough to do the stream of Conan the Destroyer. Unfortunately, there was no Pacific or no.
I wasn't told about it until the last
Iron
minute, and
Man.
I was going to bed.
Yeah, here we go. But okay. But today, I'm not sure the time, but Paul's going to stream Cash Money's favorite, Red Sonja. Red Sonja. The
There you
beauty of it all.
Well, we'll definitely hear Cash's reaction.
We heard Cash's reaction during Conan the Destroyer. You know, it was live. Let's just say he wasn't approving, but I liked it. And I found out that he really does like Grace Jones.
Well, you doubted him, Phil. You should never
Yeah.
doubt Mr. Cash Money, 007.
Though he didn't like the wizard with the ching ching. He didn't like the sound of that. You know, I thought that was awesome. The ching ching, him making a clinging sound. That was awesome. I liked it.
Yeah. Cash is a funny guy. Funny guy.
We even managed to have Crit there through his phone. He suffered through it. So
Poor Crit and his computer's gone.
Oh, come on. I wouldn't say watching Conan the Destroyer is suffering through it. Watching Caddyshack 2, now that's suffering through it.
best night ever. Best night ever.
Says the devil himself.
You pull the arrow out, I'll pull the arrow, and you suck the poison out. You're gonna pull it out, and you want me to suck the poison.
It's got me making them people watch Caddyshack 2 has got them so traumatized they're scared to watch anything else that I suggest. They're scared.
And here, Cash and I were the
Ice
smart ones, and we were talking about Cobra Kai.
Ice Pirates. I'm pushing
love
for Ice Pirates.
Ice Pirates. I like Ice Pirates. That's beautiful, classic B movie schlock, man. This is you can't beat it.
Speaking of beautiful people, I do want to thank Resolute Germ for being here. I want to thank the old man for being here. I also want to say thank you to Nova Vaughn, the artist formerly known as Cobra Disney Jedi. Thank you for being here. Bush McFadden, thank you for being here.
Mighty Boosh.
DJ Ronnie G, thank you for being here. And let's see, we had the lovely Leia Rose. Thank you, Leia Rose. And we also had, also on the panel as well, Jet Sparks. Thank you, Jet Sparks. And of course, we had Pops here as well. He was modding for a little bit, and you can also catch him on Talk Hard this Tuesday. And hopefully, as long as things work out, he'll be there with us on Wednesday's Pop Talk, talking about the Big Lebowski, man. You know, this panel, it really ties the YouTube together, don't you think?
Yeah, ties it together all, really well.
Where's my highlighted message? Where's my highlighted message?
I'll get to one of your highlighted messages, Phil. Hold on.
I'm always
Jeez.
skipped over and forgot.
Mister, where's this? Where's that? Where's that Autobots?
Yeah,
I want to hear the song. Where?
Yeah, where is he? I got it. It's not a Sunday morning now without hearing. Do, 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 do.
Oh, jeez.
Yes.
I heard that groan. And I also want to thank the Tad that shouldn't be. Thank you for being here. And
I just want to say that one statement by Leia Rose that thank God Phil McCracken's here is so touching and has touched me very deeply. Thank you, Leia Rose.
Does anybody have a pin to pop Phil McCracken's ego? Let's deflate him a little bit.
It's like the Goodyear blimp. I don't
But
think
just
a pin's
remember,
gonna do it.
I can't make it up. She did say it. Thank God.
I know she said it. I was right here when she said it, Paul. Phil, I know I called you Paul. Well, yeah. Okay, so even I'm prone to errors.
Feels like Donnie in the Big Lebowski.
Shut up, Phil. Shut the fuck up, Phil. Although I'm just saying that to be funny, Phil.
It's okay. I can take a joke.
Although I did say to Barrett I should make a clip out of that for him.
Just remember, you get out of hand. Me and the old man, the Old People Alliance, we'll put you in your place. Ain't that right, old man? You got my back.
I'm not that far behind you, Phil.
Mike's catching up every day.
I also want to thank Claude Sailing. Thank you, Claude. And thank you for subscribing last night. Really appreciate it. And let's see. Oh, yeah. We also had the porn bots.
They're always a favorite.
Moving up in the world. What can we say? You're moving up. The more popular you get, the more bots you're going to get.
And we also had Phil McCracken, who was hoping for Atlantic 525, but he got Pacific 414. Sorry.
Yeah. What can I say? You can't always get what you want. That's Rolling Stones.
Always get what you want.
Yeah.
You can try sometimes, but you just might find. I better shut up. Get what you need. But thank you everybody for being here. Hope to see you Wednesday for Wednesday's edition of Pop Talk, talking the Big Lebowski. Of course, we'll go back out there to the West and play Evil West, battling some vampires. I was battling a big old one last night, and he kicked my ass.
No.
You should have a character name. You can name it Lincoln, the Vampire Hunter.
Actually, I don't know if I've told anybody this here on Pop Talk, but when Chaos and I play War Thunder, I have this character I sometimes come out with called Padlock. Yeah, that's right. I'm a gunner on a tank. Hey, Ray, cousin Ray, quit making that chili. There's a hole in my ass.
Brilliant.
Anonymous, do you get insulted like I do that he makes fun of the Southern accent?
No, I hear it all the time.
Yeah.
Well,
We have a
it
relative like
doesn't.
that.
It doesn't work with any other accent, Phil. I mean, hey, oh my God, Ray, I got a hole in my ass. Oh my God,
I don't know.
how about
worked
that
pretty well.
chowder?
Get in the car. Get in the car.
Get in the car, get some tonic. Oh my God, I'm getting shot at, Ray. Oh my God, you gotta make that wicked chili.
The funny thing is, when you actually run into them New Englanders when they're talking like that, it's
Yeah.
can't understand them. Can't understand them, Anonymous. Can't understand them.
Well, I don't know what to tell you, Phil.
Yeah.
But again, thank you all for watching this Sunday edition of Pop Talk. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to smash that like button or the dislike button. And have a good rest of your Sunday. And we will see you all later.
Dude.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Sing it. Sing it.
I'm done.
Now you can sing it.
Dashing through the snow.
Ah, humbug.